Hello and welcome to Get Decked, the video series where I make budget Magic the Gathering decks for casual games night or to introduce friends and family members to the game. In this episode we're going to keep carrying on with our Thunder Junction pre-constructed decks, and we're going to look at one called Deadly Desert, which is a black-green deck. So let's take a look at the deck list. Before that, let's quickly remind ourselves of the Get Decked rules. These decks are 60 cards, they're designed for 1v1 games. For these decks we're only using Thunder Junction cards, mostly commons and uncommons, no cards that cost more than $2 at time recording. We limit to 12 different non-land cards for a good mix of variety and consistency. Strong themes, low to mid complexity, but just because it's casual doesn't mean the deck has to be weak or bad. So let's take a look at the deck list. So we've got 24 creatures, 24 land, 8 sorceries and 4 instants, and a mana curve off to the side there. So I have like the 5 of these Thunder Junction decks. This is kind of like the ramp deck essentially. This is like the big creature deck. So yeah, let's dive in and start looking at how are we winning. So before we proceed, let's just make something very clear. Deserts and like desert synergies was not the green black archetype in Thunder Junction. I'm aware of that. If you're typing the comment, stop. I'm aware of it. I know the green black archetype was meant to be like a sort of a self mill, like stock up your graveyard and then use the graveyard as a resource, that kind of thing. I am very aware of that. I do think it is a shame that like one of the color combinations wasn't like around deserts, because obviously that was a big thing in the set. There was a whole bunch of like these green cards that cared about deserts, had synergies with deserts. You had a whole bunch of like new like desert non-basic lands. I just think it would have been fun maybe to make that the actual draft archetype rather than what we got. But yeah, that's just me. Yeah, I'm aware that one of the commander decks was all based around deserts as well, which I thought was pretty cool as well. Anyway, I wanted to do a deck based around deserts because I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, so we've got 3 Colossal Rattleworms. So 2 in double green for a 6/5. Has flash as long as you control a desert. Has trample, which this just like for 4 mana. This is already doing so much. And then you pay 1 in the green, exile it from your graveyard. You set your library for a desert, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. We got about 10 deserts, I think, in the deck. So this is really nice. The fact even if it dies, it then turns into a ramp spell essentially. So yeah, really like Colossal Rattleworm. We've got 3 Cactarantula, so 4 on double green for 6/5, 1 less to cast if you control a desert. It's got reach, and if it becomes the target of a spell and ability an opponent controls, you can draw a card, which is really nice. If they target removal, you get something out of it at least. Yeah, just a pretty cool card, I think. And then 3 Spinewood's Armadillo, 4 and double green for a 7/7 with reach and ward 3. So the ward 3 makes it so different. Well, like that ward 3 is basically that's starting to verge into basically like hexproof, because it's such a huge cost to pay for the extra cost to target it. Anyway, you can pay 1 in a green to discard it from your hand, and you can search your library for a basic land card or a desert, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle and gain 3 life. So I really like cards like this. It reminds me of Croson Tusker actually from all the way back in Onslaught block, where late game obviously you can play it as a big creature, and early game you can spend the mana to discard it and turn it into like a ramp spell essentially. You're getting a land out of it and getting a bit of life. So I really like Spinewood's Armadillo. I think it's a really nice card. We've got 3 Outcaster Greenblades, 2 in a green for a 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, set your library for a basic land card or a desert, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. It gets +1/+1 for every desert you control. So we've got about 10 in the deck. So potential for this guy to like really punch up if we get even a couple deserts down. He starts, then he's like a 3/4. I think that's pretty good, for 3 mana. And he's obviously also searching up land. Yeah, I think it's just really, again, like a really nice little card. And then we've got 3 Black Snag Buzzard, who's got nothing to do with deserts. I just wanted to put it in here because it's kind of like a thematic pick for like, you'd have buzzards in the desert, I guess. So 2 in the black for a 2/1 flying. It ends the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter. If a creature died this turn, you can plot it. So you can spend 1 in the black, exile it from your hand, and then cast it as a sorcery on a later turn without paying its mana cost. So yeah, you can wait until something dies and then comes in and it's a 3/2 with flying. It's okay. It's okay. Honestly, I was just trying to find like black creatures that would kind of fit, because there's not a lot of like desert synergies in black in the set. So I think I might have like maybe like restricted myself too much by making this deck all about deserts. But we're committed now. We're going for it. So we're going to talk about what helps us win in this deck. So we've got 3 treasure dredgers. So 1 the black for a 2/2, and you pay 1 and tap, pay 1 life to create a treasure token, which helps because we've got some expensive spells in the deck. So getting some treasure obviously helps. And again, I thought this was like the buzzard, maybe a bit thematic. Like you find treasure in the desert, I suppose. Maybe I don't. Again, like the black spells are really like a bit of a reach, honestly. And then we've got 3 Dance of the Tumbleweeds, so 1 in the green plus because it's a spree spell. So you choose 1 or more of the additional costs. So for +1, so 3 in total, you search your library for a basic land card or a desert, put onto the battlefield, not tapped, which is pretty good, I think. And then shuffle, although most of the deserts actually come into play tapped anyway. And the +3 is create a XX green elemental creature token where X is the number of lands you control. So again, like the Armadillo, actually, I really like this because early game, it's a land search spell, late game, it makes a big creature, so I think that's pretty fun. We've got 3 Map the Frontiers, so 3 in the green. Search your library up to 2 basic land cards or desert cards, put them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Yep, so we're just ramping up. We want to get deserts out, definitely because obviously a lot of our stuff cares about deserts. So yeah, this is just a fine like ramp spell. And then 2 Badlands Revival, 3 black and a green. Return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Return up to 1 target permanent card from your graveyard to a hand. So this is really nice. Like get a big creature from your graveyard straight into the battlefield, and then I guess like then a second creature back into your hand because we've got no other permanents. We haven't got any artifacts or enchantments or whatever. So yeah, this is again, it's okay. I really like this for 5. 2 I think is the right number because they say we're not focused on like a graveyard kind of strategy like the draft archetype was meant to be. But I mean, you could mess around with this, say if you're inspired by this and want to put the deck together. So finally, what stops our opponent winning? So these are just like removal options and stuff. So we've got 4 Desert Stew. This is the reason why I wanted to do green black deserts. This is the only black card in the set that cares about deserts. So I definitely I think overcommitted here. But so it's 1 in the black. Target creature gets -2/-2 to end turn. It gets an additional -1/-1 until end of turn for every desert you control. So yeah, if you got at least 1 desert out, then it's like -3/-3 for 2 mana, which I think is sort of okay. That's like using like my magic boomer references Last Gasp from original Ravnica. But this just scales up because we've got a bunch of deserts in the deck, so this can potentially be like a really nice, cheap, efficient kill spell. And then 3 Voracious Varmint, 1 in the green for a 2/2 with Vigilance. You can sacrifice to Naturalize, which is just a nice little bit of utility. And then 3 Anglebiters, just 1 mana for a 1/1 Death Touch, which is always a nice deterrent to an opponent to like stop them attacking when like they don't want to lose a big creature just to a little 1/1 snake. So yeah, these are okay. Again, I tried to sort of like keep to this theme, I guess, of stuff that you'd find in the desert. I don't know. And then our mana base, this is where all the deserts come in. So we've got 4 Festering Gulch, which is the green-black cactus land. So it enters the battlefield tapped. When it ends the battlefield, it does 1 damage to target opponent and taps to give you black or green. You've got 3 Arid Archways. Enters the battlefield tapped. When it ends the battlefield, you return a land you control to its owner's hand. If you return a desert, you get to surveil 1. So you look at the top card in library, you can put into your graveyard, which can then actually work with the Badlands Resurrection spell. Gives you double colours when you tap it. And we've got 3 Sandstorm Verges. Taps for colourless, and you spend 3 and tap to make a creature unable to block for a turn, which is actually a pretty nice effect to tack onto a land like that. So yeah, so there we go. We've got 10 deserts to benefit all our few cards that care about deserts. And then just 10 forests and 4 swamps. So I'd love to know what you think about this deck. Do you think I made the right choice going black-green deserts, or do you think I should have maybe gone with the actual what draft archetype was, which was, I say, more of like a self-mill effect and like filling up the graveyard and then using like reanimation spells or stuff that gets stuff out of the graveyard, that kind of thing, using the graveyard as a resource. I really wanted to do deserts though, so because I thought it's so fun and thematic in like a Wild West set to do a deck all about deserts and stuff. But anyway, I'd love to know what you think. If there are any cards that you think could have gone in here instead, yeah, absolutely. Stick a comment down below. I'll give those a read. But yeah, I hope you join me next time when I do another Thunder Junction deck. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.